Hey, this is Kyle from Westchester Shop Local, and today we've got a wonderful treat for you guys. But first, this is our weekly show where we actually go and interview people that are having a big impact in Westchester. And the thing is, they're not just having an impact on the consumer, which they are, and the region itself, but they're actually having a lot of our people that come on this show have an impact on other business owners, which is really the case today. We've got somebody today that does events and PR as well, has a kind of a mix of both. So, and comes from a really interesting corporate background, but also does everything from high profile nonprofit events all the way to farmers markets. So she really has the gambit on being able to promote events, and she does a lot of virtual and live events. Virtual, of course, a lot more last year. So I'd like to welcome here Charisse Jervis Hill. Come on in, Charisse. Welcome.
Thank you, Kyle. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so glad you can make this. So tell us, this is really fascinating because you know what, we're coming out of this COVID thing, right? We all know we're dying to get out of the house. You know, we want to get
We're
back out. We want to mix with people. Even people like
Yes.
me that like to hide behind computers want to get around people. So how do we do it? Because you know what, there's going to be a lot of people that are rushing these things, and I know that you have a really unusual way of doing things. You got a really unusual way of not just putting on events, making sure that the user experience is super high, but also
Yes.
measuring and making sure that the event actually is successful, not just with soft metrics, but actually some hard metrics, or what we call KPIs, key performance
hmm
indicators. So tell us
Yep.
a little bit about first all that, but first, how did you get started?
All right, all of that. That's a lot to unpack, but I'm ready for it. So I have a corporate background. I actually started in corporate America. I used to work for JP Morgan. I used to work for MetLife, Philip Morris. So very much a corporate background. Um, 2000, and I'm trying to think of it's sorry, like having major COVID brain. But when my second when my second daughter was born, it was around 9/11, and the industry got hit kind of somewhat like COVID, different,
Mm-hmm.
but some
Mm-hmm.
of those same feelings. And I was laid off from my corporate job. I had just had my second daughter. I did a lot with the hotel industry. I had a lot of people that I knew, and I got a ton of calls. Hey, Sharice, I'm working on this. Can you help with this? Hey, what's going on? I know you just had a baby. We're working on this. Can you help with that? And that buzz of starting a business kind of started at that moment. So it's 17 years. April made 17
Wow.
years that I've been in business. So I'm very excited about that. And yeah, so as far as like KPIs and measuring, I start all of my events with having a conversation with the client about the goals. Why are we having this event? And we do that for every event, whether it's you're a small business and you want to host an in-store promotion. Okay, so let's talk about the whys. What do we want to gain? Are we building your email list? Like, what are those reasons? And I think that foundation really sets us up to be successful because we're working towards the goal. The client is clear on the goal. A lot of times people do things without even kind of having these conversations, and then you don't really know at the end. It's like, oh yeah, we had a great time. I want you to have a great time, but I also, want to have, what we really accomplished and what were the user experience and all of that fun stuff. So
And that's really, I think that's really unusual because I hear so many event planners just talk about like, oh, the frilly colors and this and that and all the stuff, which is, it's great. It's great. But at the same time, most businesses need to have some kind of bottom line to know, hey, it's a big investment. We're
yeah,
putting a lot of dollars, time, and manpower behind these events. We need to see something come back. It's just,
it's
we got to do it. If you're running too many of those the other way, you go out of business.
No, you're so right. And it's I kind of laugh when people talk about like, oh, the flowers and this, and it's like I don't really care about the flowers. Like, you're an event planner, you don't care about the flowers. I do, but it's not high on my list. You know what I mean? It's really like, okay, our goal is to raise money. We're not so much thinking about the flowers. We're more so thinking about how we're going to hit that number for this nonprofit to raise that money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So my firm is definitely different in that way. And I think it's the PR mix. I think we realize that it's not, the event is kind of a piece of that pie. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that really is one of the things that sets us apart.
So how would somebody? So okay, I'm a business owner. I know I need to get out. I need to get out in this and take advantage of all these people that are dying to get out of their houses after being locked in there away for about over a year. How would I start? I mean, what would I if I wanted to? And even if I'd run events in the past, what would I need to be looking at? Because things have definitely changed. So what would I need to do? What would be like step one, step two, step three, the process that you would help walk me through to make sure I had a
So
successful event?
honestly, Kyle, right now, everything is changing at a rapid speed. So I would say for us, like we're working on events that are outdoors. We actually have had two events recently where one was indoors. It was kind of an expo, a small expo event. And then the second one, a week later, was an outdoor expo event. And literally, the difference in a week was so different because everything, the CDC, it changes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening in New York State as far as our mandates are changing every day. So I think you really have to kind of have a beat on that. You have to pay attention to those different guidelines. I think that you really have to, yes, we all are ready to, or most of us are ready to kind of get out and see family and celebrate in some kind of way. But I think that it still has to be done safely. We are still in the middle of this pandemic, and those are conversations that I do have with clients. I actually had a phone call today with a client who's working on a musical performance, and we're trying to figure out like this number is now allowed, but do we feel like people are going to feel comfortable in this space? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think we still need to practice social distancing because we're all just, it's like starting all over again. And I think we need baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that we still need to realize that we are in the middle of this pandemic still. You know, a lot of people are vaccinated. New York is doing incredible with their numbers, but there's other states that are not doing so great. So I think it really is important for, you know, just to kind of, as excited as we are, you still have to keep that safety piece in mind.
All right. So so step one would be, you have to, and I think we talked about this earlier, that it really is what you're saying. Like I was in a movie theater last weekend where it felt like it was 6 or 8 months ago. I mean, we were really spaced out. It was max 25%. I don't even think I think it was less than 20 really. And
Mm-hmm.
they were making sure and saying, "Hey, you got to keep your mask on the entire performance." And we had come from a dinner where nobody had a mask on during dinner, right? So, like at a restaurant. So it's funny to see the differences. So I'm sure theaters are different than restaurants and everything. So it's radically different. And like you're saying, it can change in a week, and it does.
It
So.
literally changes every day. We're working on guidelines for one of the farmers markets that we're running, and we have literally changed these guidelines, I would say about 10 times because things are changing so fast, you know? I mean, to be honest, I think that we all are doing the best that we can. You know, this is the pandemic of our lifetime. We've never had to deal with
Hopefully.
anything like this. Hopefully, praying, God, please. Um, so I think we all are just kind of trying to do the best that we can. We're trying to, as business owners, we definitely want to make a profit. You know, we all have been through such a rough year, but we also want to keep everyone safe. You know, we have a responsibility for public safety, you know, so it's really kind of balancing all of those different things, I think, which is difficult, but I think we really have to kind of just think everything through and err on the side of safety and be kind and be gentle and realize that we're all kind of in this together trying to figure it out, you know?
Mm-hmm. All right. So you had step one was really pay attention to the CDC. Step two is, still give people space, make them feel comfortable. What would be the next thing that they would need to look at?
I think really your goals, like why are we having this
Mm-hmm.
event? This is something that my team and I, we do all the time. It's kind of like, okay, you want to have this in-store promotion, like why are we having this? What is the goal? Why are we trying to build your email list? Are we trying to obviously get new customers in the door? We trying to grow your presence on social media? Like, why? So I think it's really important to kind of figure out your why, and that will help kind of create your guide map for everything else.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And really, so when you with that, why would you include like user experience? Because I know you're really big on that.
Definitely. You really have to think about your user experience, not just, obviously, we thought about that thoroughly when we were in person, but even for online virtual events, we do work with our clients to make sure that we're tying in that storytelling element. We want people to leave this virtual event inspired by the work that you do. Really have an understanding. Some virtual events, people sit there for an hour and then, they're like, oh, what does this organization do? You want to make sure that doesn't happen. It's your one opportunity to showcase what you do. So we really work hard to make sure that our clients kind of nail that.
Speaking of stories, do you have some favorite stories of people that really, businesses that really had a successful event? Like, what does that look like for them?
So we had actually yesterday. Yesterday we
Oh,
had
wow.
we were working with a nonprofit. They had it's a nonprofit that does amazing work, advocacy work for children, and when we signed on, they lost their development director, and they had a new executive director. So it was kind of a crazy time. So we really had to kind of work closely with the board to make sure that this event ran smooth, and we really told their story and hit their goals. And they wanted to raise $400,000. And last night, 7:30, they raised over $400,000. So
Wow.
so that was incredible. We were really proud of the work. It was not easy dealing with all of those elements, but happy to report that, really working together as a team, working with the board, just kind of coming together to achieve that goal was incredible. So, so we really do. I think it's important to kind of, again, align with those goals, figure out what we want to do, and kind of guide our clients to hitting those goals. So,
And speaking of that, how would you recommend? So many people struggle, particularly virtual, getting people to go to their virtual events. Like, what would be if you had a couple recommendations on, and it could be anything. So how would you get more people to your events? Everybody wants to know this, I think.
So you really have to kind of create a community. You really do have to create a community. I think you really have to leverage your board. You have to leverage people that know your donors and people that know your organization, and kind of create a community where they're helping you spread the word. Virtually, you need so many more eyes watching so that you can kind of generate those numbers, so that needs to be a big piece of your marketing campaign. It can't just be, oh, we're having this event and everyone is going to come. It really is thinking strategically of how you're going to get people there. And instead of getting butts and seats like we used to do, which hopefully we're going back to soon, it's getting eyes on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I'll talk about that a little bit in the offer that I have. We created a little cheat sheet that I'm happy to share.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. So let's do that then. Let's let the cat out of the bag, as they say.
Cat's out the bag.
and then, because this is, I know that we all do this. If we have an event, if I give a talk or whatever, it's always it's that struggle of getting people, the butts in the seats, or as you say now, eyes on the screen. So
yeah.
What do you got?
So we have a kind of a cheat sheet of 5 tips on how to really leverage and get people to your virtual event, like how to get them to tune in. So if you go to my website, it's eventsremember.com, and sign up for our newsletter, and anyone that signs up will be sure to send you that cheat sheet. And that'll have some great tips on things that you can do to really help you get some butts in those seats, or eyes on the screen. Yeah. Hopefully butts in the seats. That's what we're striving for.
Okay. But, so you got some juicy stuff. You have one that you want to say? One of those 5 that
What
you
you
want
know?
to give away?
Yes. So one of the 5 is, and this is something that I think people don't take advantage of, is Facebook events.
Okay.
So you create an event on Facebook, and I see people do this all the time. You
Mm-hmm.
create an event on Facebook, and then you just leave it there.
Yep.
It's like you need to engage those folks that are on that page. You need to take the time to invite people to come to that event.
Mm-hmm.
That is, it's like a gold mine. Facebook will send reminders to them. If you're streaming live, they can come and tune in there. So I think that people really do kind of leave that out on their own, and I think that they could do a better job of leveraging that.
So you're saying that they kind of just like they build the page and they just let it sit there and they don't actually
Yep.
use it the
They're
way
not
it's meant to be
posting any
used.
updates on it. They're not engaged. They're not taking the time to invite people. So it's something that really, when it's used well, it's so helpful.
Yeah, because it's free and it already has them, right? So it can say, hey, by the way, the event's starting. I mean, it's amazing. It kind of is amazing. I mean, I know I don't use it even nearly. I'll create the event and be like, yeah, let's move on.
A
But
lot of people do that. They'll create the event and then there's nothing, and you go to the event page and there's like nothing. It's like you have, if you take the time to just invite people, and once your friends see it and if they share, that's what I meant earlier when I said kind of creating that community. I think that really is helpful. Help them help you.
wow, yeah, that's actually, that's funny. It's an obvious one, but it's still, even though it's super obvious, it's incredibly underused at the same time. But you're right.
Yes.
I rarely see anybody actually use those pages the way that you can. That's basically, it's a marketing machine built there for you with all kinds of
Exactly.
reminders. It's
Yeah.
funny. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So that's really excellent. So and remember, you got 4 more that you can give away in the thing. So you definitely want to do that. And again, I think we just had that. Let me go back. There it is. It's eventsremember.com. www.eventsremember.com. And you can get that. And I think also on that on your newsletter, you do a lot of events that are going on. So people that have families we're always looking for something to do, especially as we open back up. And you give a pretty thorough list of that.
Definitely. I'm not one of those. We're all so sick of newsletters. I know we are. And I really make it a point to send out once a month. And we really will focus on not just events that we're hosting, but events that are fun in the community or events that clients may be working on their own. So we really do try to showcase different things that are happening to give folks fun stuff to do.
All right. Well, Cherise, I want to thank you so much for coming on here. I think you gave some really good stuff for this very important next chapter for businesses, not just in our county, but across the country. As we kind of tiptoe into this very tricky waters, I think you'd call them, of post COVID. Let's hope. If you can see
Yes,
that.
let's hope. Get your shots, everyone. Let's get vaccinated and get back to business.
All right. Well, I want to thank you again. And this is Kyle from Westchester Shop Local. Remember, together we can make local thrive.
Yes.